Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really jumping headfirst into the digital experience of the world's youngest generations. We're talking Generation Z and Generation Alpha.
And what we found is, well, it's a portrait of modern life that is, frankly, just exhausting.
It really is. It's this essential contradiction of being hyper-connected, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our sources today they're pulling together threads from some pretty advanced psychology, from cutting-edge AI and from augmented reality.
All to investigate this phenomenon we're calling wired but weary.
That's the core paradox, exactly. We're looking at Gen Z, those born roughly between 1997 and 2012,
Yeah.
and then the emerging Gen Alpha born from 2010 onward.
These are true digital natives. I mean, they leverage these platforms for community, for self-expression, for everything, really.
But that very connectivity, the thing that's supposed to bring us together, is consistently serving up widespread exhaustion, a lot of identity pressure, and what the sources are calling true social media burnout.
And it's important to remember the psychological stress isn't just happening in a vacuum. The conflicting force here, the real amplifier, is the rapidly accelerating power of artificial intelligence and augmented reality.
Right. These technologies are not just changing how we see content.
Not at all. They are fundamentally altering the nature of self-presentation, of commerce, and of attention itself. They're changing the game entirely.
Exactly. So for you, the listener, the mission of this deep dive is to really unpack the components of this digital pressure cooker. We'll start with the foundational psychological theories that, explain why this generation is so burnt out.
And then we'll transition into the advanced technological features. We'll look specifically at the radical shifts happening on platforms like TikTok and the predictions for what's called contextual AI in 2026.
The goal here is that you'll walk away with a really comprehensive understanding of what it means to be constantly augmented.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this crisis. I think we have to start by defining the digital reality of Gen Z.
We have to. They are the first cohort to grow up never, ever knowing a world without instant, real-time connectivity.
Without a smartphone in their pocket.
Right. And without the major platforms that define our world now, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they are true digital natives, and their lives have been just completely shaped by this immersion from day one.
And that deep, constant immersion has created a pretty significant psychological consequence that our sources are defining as social media burnout.
Yeah, and it's more than just, wanting to unplug for a weekend. It's being described as a clinical state of emotional exhaustion and psychological detachment.
And that's caused by what? Just using it too much.
It's caused by intense and obligatory digital engagement. That obligatory part is key. It's the feeling that you have to be online, not that you want to be.
So what are the primary symptoms? I mean, what should we be looking out for if we're trying to understand this burnout?
The symptoms that our sources identified are, they're pretty severe. They include things like attention fragmentation.
Which is just the inability to focus.
Exactly. The inability to focus on sustained tasks. Then there's pervasive anxiety, low motivation, which is often linked to this feeling that, real success only happens online. And maybe the most striking one.
What's that?
Emotional numbness, a kind of detachment from real-world consequences. This burnout is a direct result of the core dissonance that's just baked into these platforms.
It's the paradox we mentioned at the top, right?
Yeah.
The platforms are built to do good things, in theory.
Right. They're designed to foster virtual communities, self-expression, global connection, things that should improve our well-being.
But in reality, they impose these crushing pressures for constant stimulation, for performance metrics, and that relentless social comparison.
Which actively drains the user. It's the absolute definition of a double-edged sword. You go there seeking connection, and you walk away with exhaustion.
Okay, so to really understand why this exhaustion is so prevalent and so specific to this generation, we need to get into the psychological theories that are sort of the operating system for digital stress.
Yeah, our sources highlight 4 key frameworks that really help explain what's going on under the surface.
Let's start with the why, the root of the behavior. The sources point to something called the uses and gratifications theory, or UGT.
UGT is so critical here because it completely flips the old script. It's not about what media does to people, it's about what people do with media.
Okay, so it positions Gen Z as active participants. They're not just passive consumers getting brainwashed by a feed.
Precisely. They are intentionally selecting media to fulfill very specific needs. It could be a need for status, for approval, for social connection, or just, for escapism or entertainment.
When you look at the hours spent scrolling, It's really a hunt for immediate gratification then.
It is. A like, a quick comment, a funny video that enhances your mood for 30 seconds.
And this is where the platforms, which are engineered for maximum engagement, just perfectly exploit that search.
They do. The instantaneous nature of that gratification, the like, the share it, creates a powerful reward loop. Our sources describe it as the digital equivalent of a sugar rush, but one that has absolutely no nutritional value.
And that constant quest for an instant reward, I imagine that leads to some pretty compulsive usage patterns.
It absolutely does. The desire to stay connected becomes an obligation. It morphs into this constant, low-level anxiety.
And when that feeling of obligation fails to provide any real, authentic fulfillment.
The user is just left with dissatisfaction and fatigue. The platform is designed to make you feel like you need to check in, not that you genuinely want to. It's a subtle but really important distinction.
Okay, that leads us to the second pillar, and this one seems like maybe the most emotionally draining one. It's the social comparison theory.
It is. I mean, we are all fundamentally wired to evaluate ourselves against others. It's a human thing, but this process is just turbocharged by visual media.
Because you're not just comparing yourself to your neighbor anymore.
Exactly. The moment you introduce platforms that rely on highly visual, highly curated content, and here we're really talking about Instagram and TikTok, you amplify what psychologists call upward social comparison.
Meaning you're always looking up at someone who seems to have it better.
Always. Users are constantly, relentlessly exposed to peer and influencer content that has been edited, filtered, and perfected to project an idealized life. The perfect body, the perfect vacation, relentless success.
And what makes this so much more damaging in the digital world is the quantification of self-worth. It's not just a feeling anymore. There are actual numbers attached to it.
That's the devastating part. The presence of these quantifiable metrics, likes, followers, view counts, it transforms a psychological comparison into a kind of social score.
It reinforces the idea that your self-worth is directly linked to your digital validation.
Which is just a horrible equation. This constant need to measure up against a fabricated perfect version of life fosters acute insecurity and directly drives anxiety and depressive symptoms. It creates a performative culture where success is measured only by the things you can see, by the visible metrics, not by your actual subjective happiness.
And that performative culture you mentioned, that leads us perfectly into the third pillar, which is the self-determination theory, or SDT. This one is all about authenticity and how it impacts our mental health.
Yes, SDT is the framework that really explains the corrosive nature of what are called extrinsic rewards.
So things like likes and comments.
Exactly. When your motivation to post, to interact, or even just to exist online is driven purely by those extrinsic rewards, the likes, the comments, the desire for status, it fundamentally undermines your intrinsic motivation.
And that's tied to
Yeah.
what? Your authentic self.
It's tied to your authentic self-concept, the things you do because you genuinely enjoy them, because they align with your values.
So when you feel you have to curate and project this idealized version of yourself that doesn't really align with who you actually are, you get what the sources call identity dissonance.
Yes, a gap between the real you and the projected you.
What does that actually feel like for a member of Gen Z?
It feels like profound imposter syndrome. And it feels like crushing emotional exhaustion. It's the sheer exhaustion of maintaining a constant, sophisticated, and often fragile facade.
I think we've all felt a version of that little bit of anxiety right before you hit post.
That's the moment. That's identity dissonance kicking in. You're wondering if the curated self will be accepted or if the real self will accidentally peek through and be rejected.
And our sources show that this actually plays out in how they use the platforms.
Yeah.
Gen Z has developed these really specific coping mechanisms, like the idea of a finsta.
The finsta is a perfect example of a coping strategy born directly from this dissonance.
Can you just quickly explain what that is?
Sure. They create their main public polished Instagram account, the Rinsta or Real Insta. That's to fulfill all the extrinsic performance needs.
A highlight reel.
Exactly. But then they create a Finsta, a fake Insta, which is accessible only to a very small circle of trusted friends. And that's where they post the unfiltered, authentic, low-stakes content, the messy stuff, the real stuff.
It's like a psychological pressure release valve.
It is. The fact that they have to bifurcate their online presence just to maintain their mental health, it confirms that their digital lives have detached so severely from their authentic selves.
Which brings us to the final pillar, the one that addresses the sensory assault itself, cognitive load theory.
This theory is fundamentally about the limits of the human brain's processing capacity. And Gen Z is operating in an attention economy that is defined by constant, fragmented sensory input.
So the endless alerts, the infinite scroll, the short-form videos that require you to rapidly switch context every 10 seconds.
And multitasking across multiple devices at once.
Right. We often talk about multitasking like it's an efficiency tool, but the sources are really clear that it's the primary driver of digital fatigue. Can you give us a concrete example of that cognitive strain in their daily life?
Absolutely. Imagine a university student. They are, nominally attending a class lecture over Zoom on their laptop.
A pretty common scenario these days.
Very. But while that lecture is running, they are simultaneously fielding texts on their phone, checking a trending hashtag on TikTok, and maybe writing a quick email response in another window.
Their brain isn't just processing one stream of information.
Not even close. It's rapidly switching contexts over and over. There's a phenomenon called attention residue, where part of your brain is still thinking about the last task, which severely strains the prefrontal cortex.
So that constant switching and monitoring creates a chronic high cognitive load.
Yes, and that high load directly impairs executive function. It impairs your memory, your concentration. It is the physical mental mechanism that contributes most directly to those burnout symptoms we started with.
The brain is basically running a marathon on a continuous loop.
And it never gets the rest. It needs to actually consolidate information. So, of course, it leads to genuine mental exhaustion.
Okay, so that's Gen Z. Now we have to move to the next cohort, Gen Alpha. These are the kids born after 2010, if Gen Z were the digital natives.
Then Gen Alpha are the immersive natives. They've encountered this technology at an even earlier, more formative stage.
And their level of comfort with it is just unparalleled.
It is. The sources say that by age 10, 58% of Gen Alpha kids already had their own smartphone. And the data for 8 to 12-year-olds shows they average nearly 5 hours of screen time daily.
Wow, nearly 5 hours.
Specifically, 4 hours and 44 minutes, they are deeply, deeply embedded in this digital world. And they are often using technology that's far more sophisticated than what Gen Z had at the same age.
But, and this is what I found so interesting, despite this incredibly high usage, their values profile seems surprisingly distinct. It's almost like a conscious reaction to the anxiety of their older siblings and millennial parents.
That is what's so fascinating. They're incredibly values-driven. The sources point to altruism, empathy, and social consciousness as their core traits. A significant 61% of this age group says that helping people is very important to them.
And they show a real concern for fairness and sustainability.
Deep concern. It seems to be purpose over prestige for them. The data indicates that while a majority, 64%, would still like to be an influencer one day.
So that concept is still aspirational.
It is, but they view content creation primarily as a creative and authentic form of self-expression, not just as a shortcut to fame or wealth.
And their career aspirations reflect this too, don't they?
They do. Over a third of them are dreaming of careers that help the planet or help other people. And unlike Gen Z, who were often defined by a sort of rebellion against millennial structures, Gen Alpha generally respects their parents.
Why is that?
The theory is that it's because their millennial parents have been much more transparent about mental health struggles and life challenges. It's normalized the idea that life isn't always that filtered perfection you see online.
And this leads to a really crucial insight about how they manage their screen time. It seems like they might be handling that double-edged sword of technology better than Gen Z did at first.
Exactly. Despite being totally immersed, they seem to be more aware of the psychological pitfalls. Our sources confirm that nearly 3 in 4 Gen Alpha kids are actively cutting back on their tech use on their own.
So they're self-regulating.
They are. They consciously choose to go outside or engage in non-digital activities specifically to manage their mental health. They view technology as this powerful, unavoidable tool, but one that requires deliberate moderation.
It suggests a generation that's trying to impose boundaries where the previous one struggled to even recognize that a boundary needed to exist in the first place. Okay, so we've established the psychological framework for burnout. Now let's pivot to the technological forces. We're talking about the platform design, the evolving algorithms.
The things that actively shape and, let's be honest, often exacerbate that underlying identity pressure we just discussed.
This shift is so critical because the technology is basically enforcing the very behavior that causes the stress.
And to get a handle on that, we have to look at the architectural differences between the platforms. The culture of the platform really dictates the kind of identity you feel compelled to project.
Let's start with the classic example.
Yeah.
Historically, Instagram has been the platform of the aesthetic.
Absolutely. It was designed for permanent, curated visual representation. It emphasized status signaling. Instagram is where you go to project your aspirational identity.
The perfect vacation, the flawless outfit, the filtered, perfect look.
Whereas TikTok, by contrast, fosters a sense of collectivity. Its core mechanism, the viral trend, the shared sound, the inside joke, is designed for participatory belonging,
So the focus is less on your personal aesthetic perfection.
and much more on joining a collective moment. The content is often lower polish. It's designed to be relatable, disposable, and fun.
But here's the thing. Regardless of the specific cultural flavor of the platform, the outcome for Gen Z and Alpha seems to be the same, this profound digital identity fragmentation.
It's the pressure of having to maintain multiple and often conflicting personas across all these different platforms.
It sounds like constant, exhausting code switching.
That's a great way to put it. You have the professional or public-facing persona on LinkedIn, or maybe a public Instagram. You have the family-friendly persona you use on Facebook with your extended relatives.
And then you have the authentic, unfiltered you on a Finsta or in a closed group chat.
And managing all these conflicting selves is constant performance labor. You're on different digital stages all day. And as we discussed with self-determination theory, that directly contributes to emotional exhaustion. You never really get to just be one person.
And that identity performance is now being algorithmically optimized. Our sources are pointing to a really foundational shift happening with the TikTok 2025 algorithm update.
This is a major, major change. It moves the core discovery mechanism, the For You page, or FYP, much closer to a sophisticated search engine model.
So wait, traditionally the FYP prioritized things like trending sounds or just videos that were similar to what you've already liked.
Right. But now it heavily, heavily weighs search intent and keywords.
So if I go and search for, say, best beginner watercolor techniques, the FYP isn't just going to show me popular art videos anymore.
No, it's going to specifically surface videos that are optimized to answer that exact query. This forces creators to shift their thinking entirely.
They have to go from being entertainers to being what?
To being TikTok SEO experts. If their content isn't rich with keywords, if it's not relevant to a specific user query, and if it's not formatted to sustain attention, it just won't rank. The performance requirements have gone way up.
Let's dive into the 3 key ranking factors for this new environment. Let's start with the one that sounds the most punishing, longer engagement time.
This is now the undisputed king of all the metrics on the platform. Watch time and, critically, the video completion rate carry immense weight.
Because they signal to the algorithm that the content delivers deep value, not just a quick laugh.
Precisely. So creators are now strategically building content for a very specific time range. They're aiming for 60 to 180 seconds of continuous watch time.
That means the first 3 seconds of a video are no longer just about getting a like.
It's about employing fast hooks and visible progress markers. Things like, wait for step 5, or I can't believe what happened at the end.
Anything to stop the scroll, and, more importantly, keep the viewer watching past the 100% completion mark.
And if a video is watched to completion, or if it's saved, or if it's shared, it receives an exponential boost in recommendations. The algorithm rewards that deep retention far more heavily than just initial views.
So for creators, this means they have to master storytelling arcs in short-form video. Every second has to count.
And they need a clear call to action that sparks deeper engagement, like encouraging saves or shares, which are the absolute highest value signals you can send to the algorithm.
The second big factor is niche authority. I'm guessing this is TikTok's way of separating the casual posters from the, verified experts.
That's exactly what it is. The algorithm is now rewarding consistency within a tight, definable niche. If you are continuously publishing repeatable formats on a very specific topic.
Like only content about vintage video game repair or something like that.
Perfect example. Or specialized medical advice. The algorithm recognizes this as verified expertise and authority.
So it's not about being a general content creator anymore. It's about becoming a predictable, reliable resource.
It is. This consistent authority earns you higher, steadier reach because the model can accurately classify your content and then match it to users with a very specific, deep intent. It becomes a matter of trustworthiness and predictability.
Which actually helps the Gen Z users who are trying to use the platform to self-educate.
It does. It makes the platform a more reliable source of information if you can navigate it.
Okay, and the third factor, which connects right back to that search engine shift, is TikTok SEO itself.
Yes. Now, content creators have to optimize every single available element, their captions, their hashtags, the audio they choose, and even the on-screen text.
And they have to use specific keywords that mirror what users are actually searching for.
Right. Think DIY home organization hacks or how to fix this specific problem. Visibility is now almost completely dependent on how well they use these keyword-rich phrases. Their language, their aesthetics, everything has to be molded to the algorithm's preferences.
And this is where we circle right back to the psychological cost. Gen Z users and creators now constantly feel compelled to play the algorithm.
It's just intense performance anxiety layered on top of all this algorithmic optimization. They have to adapt their behavior, their language, and their aesthetics just to stay visible.
Which leads to compulsive posting, right?
Yeah.
Because you need that frequency and consistency to maintain your authority.
Yes, and severe anxiety about visibility, including this pervasive fear of being shadow banned,
Right.
where you feel like the algorithm has just decided to stop showing your content to anyone.
So for you, the listener, whether you're managing a brand or just trying to build a professional following, this shift is huge. You're no longer just competing for attention.
You are competing on relevance. You are being forced to become a sophisticated search engine optimizer just to maintain a baseline of visibility. The stress of the content creator is now a mandated business skill.
And this algorithmic pressure, it isn't just about social standing or creative expression. It is the driving engine of global commerce, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And Gen Alpha is already this massive economic force that brands are just desperate to understand.
The numbers here are pretty staggering. Even as kids, Gen Alpha's direct influence over what their household spends is estimated at over $300 billion a year.
And that figure is projected to just skyrocket to $1.7 trillion globally by 2029. Brands have to master this digital ecosystem if they want to capture the next generation of buying power.
So the question then becomes, where are these incredibly influential consumers actually discovering products and brands?
Well, our sources point primarily toward two places: video and the interactive playground of gaming.
YouTube still seems to dominate brand awareness. Over half, 51% of Gen Alpha, hear about new brands for the first time on YouTube.
And just this year, the platform was ranked the #1 coolest brand among kids and teens. It's still the king.
But branded content within games is equally crucial now.
It is. 43% of alphas play Roblox, and 58% play Minecraft. These platforms aren't just entertainment anymore, they are commerce and discovery channels.
And the preference for digital goods is so strong that many Gen Alpha kids are now opting for digital currency, like Robux, over physical toys as gifts.
They live in a monetized virtual world. That's not an exaggeration.
The influence hierarchy for this generation is also really telling, especially when we consider that focus on authenticity we talked about in Section 1.
It's fascinating. While they certainly trust influencers, about 49% trust them almost as much as family for purchasing decisions. Peer approval often edges out that celebrity influence.
This is the rise of the normfluencer phenomenon.
Let's unpack that a bit. It connects directly to their values-driven nature. Gen Alpha prioritizes trust and relatability over that aspirational, perfect celebrity lifestyle.
So if a friend owns an item, it drives the desire to buy it more strongly than seeing a celebrity endorse it.
Exactly. Because the friend's possession offers proof of concept in a real proximal context. They're less likely to fall for hyper-curated, expensive influencer lifestyles and are more drawn to products that feel real, fun, and integrated into their immediate community.
A real preference for authenticity and social proximity.
That's it. And their definition of what's cool reflects this blend of community influence and technological adoption.
What are the main drivers of coolness for them?
It seems to be three things. First, peer approval and FOMO. If something is trending in their social circle, it's a must-have. Second, the fun and play experience, which is why classic creative brands like Lego and experiential fast food brands still rank so highly.
And the third?
Innovation and newness. A remarkable 63% of Gen Alpha value having the latest tech. Early adoption is a key status symbol that aligns with their inherent comfort in the digital world. They expect continuous, rapid technological novelty.
Okay, so we've established the psychological strain, and we've mapped out the algorithmic pressure. Now, this is where the technology itself becomes the central driving theme of the conversation,
We are entering what our sources call the AI effects epidemic.
which is the systematic transformation of the social feed from something you scroll through into an interactive augmented reality environment.
It's a profound shift. It's moving from passive consumption to active, immersive participation. And the foundation of this whole epidemic is TikTok's development environment, Effect House.
And by 2025, this isn't just some library of funny filters anymore, is it?
Not at all. It's a robust, user-accessible engine for what is called generative synthesis.
Let's talk about the specific tools within Effect House 2025 that are making this generative synthesis so accessible to everyone, starting with the new AI editor.
The AI editor is a game changer because it allows creators, even those with very limited coding experience, to use these powerful generative AI capabilities right inside the development environment.
So they can select pre-trained base models like a 3D cartoon style or a retro game look.
And apply those stylized effects to their video or their image assets in real time. It's incredibly powerful.
But the granular control over the output is what makes this so transformative, isn't it? Let's try to explain that concept of prompt strength and depth with a creative example.
Okay, think about it like this. Prompt strength determines how closely the AI has to stick to your initial text prompt. So if I'm a creator and I want a photo of myself to look exactly like it was filmed on a vintage 1980s VHS tape.
You would set the prompt strength very high.
Exactly. The AI sticks tightly to that VHS look prompt. But if I want the AI to suggest some creative variations or maybe some unexpected interpretations of that style.
Then you lower the prompt strength.
Right, which gives the AI more artistic freedom. And then the depth parameter controls the overall complexity and intricacy of the assets it generates. This sophisticated level of control moves the whole process way beyond simple overlays and into genuine dynamic AR world building.
And the advanced models that are being introduced are truly blurring the line between what's real and what's synthetic. What are some of the most powerful new additions?
Well, we have models like the video model, which can take a static image and turn it into an animated effect that actually interacts with the user's movement. Then there's the image alive model, which applies this fluid, lifelike movement to still images, giving them a kind of ghostlier, dynamic quality.
And for voice and performance.
The AI lip sync feature. It allows for perfect synchronization of facial movements with any audio or video file, which makes creating a synthetic performance completely seamless.
The sources also highlight the integration of physics, which is what makes these virtual objects feel like they are grounded in the physical world.
Yes, this is a huge leap for immersion. Effect House now features a full physics rendering framework. Tools like the erasable collider 2D and soft body components let virtual objects interact realistically with your physical environment.
So, for example, a virtual pillow, which would be a soft body component.
Could fall and realistically deform when it hits a surface, a collider, that the user has drawn into the scene. This tactile component is absolutely essential for creating convincing AR experiences.
And this epidemic of AI effects, it's extending into our homes, too. It's not just about human augmentation anymore.
Correct. We have advanced face warp and body outline capabilities for people, allowing for these highly stylized, non-realistic representations. But now we also have specialized pet face trackers.
Like the cat face reshape and dog face tracker.
Exactly, meaning even our domestic animals can be seamlessly integrated into this generative augmented reality feed. The AI effects epidemic is truly pervasive. It's designed to cover our entire field of vision and interaction.
And this immersive technology is rapidly moving from just a creative tool to a massive commercial engine.
It is. AR-enhanced content receives an average of 40% longer view times than traditional video. And that fundamentally transforms passive viewers into active, engaged participants.
That's just marketing gold.
Absolutely. TikTok ads, as a result, have become this interactive playground where brands are pushing sophisticated, engaging features to capture that longer view time.
And these features are split into two categories to target different sales objectives, right?
Yes. On one side, you have the standard add-ons. These are designed for direct lower funnel action.
Things like pop-out product showcases that appear when you look at an item.
Or display cards that are triggered by a specific gesture, or floating icons that link directly to an interactive landing page. They're all focused on quick conversion.
And then you have the premium add-ons, which are all about brand connection and community engagement.
Right, those target brand recall and loyalty. This includes features like real-time community polls that are embedded in the video, interactive quizzes that test your brand knowledge, countdown timers for product launches to build urgency.
And of course, the mandatory custom-branded AR filters or effects.
Exactly, which encourage user-generated content using the brand's assets. It's a virtuous cycle for them.
The measurable impact of these interactive campaigns is just astounding. Our sources found that engaged users are an incredible 350% more likely to visit a physical store after interacting with an AR campaign.
And brands are reporting a 150% increase in product purchases. The immersive, full-screen nature of the platform makes that impact highly concentrated and very effective.
And we're seeing this migrate seamlessly into established retail now.
Oh, absolutely. Retailers like Sephora are using virtual try-ons for makeup, allowing you to test lipstick shade using your phone's camera. IKEA uses AR to let you preview furniture in your own home before you commit to buying it.
It makes online products feel tangible.
It does, and that reduces consumer anxiety and it cuts down on return rates. It's a true win-win, all driven by AR.
Looking ahead to 2026, the technology is set to fully converge, creating what the sources are calling a truly phygital experience.
One that seamlessly blends the physical and the digital. The old debate over cloud versus edge computing for AI is, for all intents and purposes, dissolving.
It is. Instead, AI systems are going to operate as a coordinated continuum. You'll have the cloud, which handles the massive data training and large-scale model refinement.
Then you have the edge, your actual devices, handling low-latency perception and short-loop decisions right there, close to the data source.
And finally, the physical systems, like machines and robots, which execute those decisions in the real world.
Let's make that concrete with a practical, everyday application. Think about a sophisticated smart home security system.
Okay.
The cloud is where the AI model is initially trained to distinguish between a person, a car, a dog, and a cat, using millions of images. Then, when that system is running at your home, the edge device, the camera itself, performs the low-latency perception.
It sees something move in the garden and instantly recognizes it as your neighbor's cat.
Precisely.
Okay.
And then the physical system, say, a smart pet door, executes the decision. It might unlock for your recognized pet, but stay locked for the neighbor's cat. This distributed AI pattern supports reliable, efficient, and instantaneous decisions at scale.
But the real breakthrough for 2026, the thing everyone is talking about, is being called contextual intelligence.
Contextual AI is the holy grail. It moves beyond simple response and enables devices to actually anticipate user needs by interpreting the environment, the user's habits, and maybe even their emotional state with incredible precision.
So imagine a display that automatically adjusts its colors and content based on the AI interpreting the current stress level in your voice.
Or just the time of day and your location, proactively tailoring the experience for you. And critically, this contextual intelligence aligns with privacy needs because the intensive processing runs locally on the device rather than requiring massive data streams to be sent to the cloud.
This future is also tied to a pretty profound shift in hardware, isn't it?
It is. While the current AR movement is centered on the smartphone, the industry is expected to transition toward always-on seamless wearables by 2026. Companies like Meta, Amazon, and others are rapidly developing advanced smart glasses.
And this moves the entire augmented feed, the filters, the data overlays, the interactive commerce, directly into the user's field of vision.
It integrates AR into every single moment of daily life. It's a fundamental change in our relationship with technology.
Okay, we've seen how this AI technology pressures the individual, both psychologically and algorithmically. Now let's shift our lens to the enterprise, to the C-suite.
Because the same generative power that creates an immersive filter on TikTok is what's now driving hyper-personalization for business.
And the stakes for companies are equally high, with some major transformations predicted for 2026.
The first one is that the customer expectation has been utterly transformed. Customers, especially from Gen Alpha and Gen Z, now expect brands to know them and to anticipate their needs before they even ask.
The data is pretty clear on this. By 2026, projections show that nearly 75% of all customer interactions will be powered or augmented by AI.
Which necessitates what's being called hyper-personalization at scale. And we're not just talking about sending out segmented emails anymore.
No, this is AI dynamically customizing every single interaction in real time.
Think about e-commerce giants like Alibaba, which use AI to curate an entirely unique storefront instantly for every individual shopper based on their real-time behavior.
Or financial institutions like Emirates NBD, which uses AI to proactively suggest custom financial products.
Like personalized loan terms based solely on a customer's unique spending patterns and their risk profile, all done in real time without a human ever touching it.
It's clear that companies are moving past basic customer service metrics and focusing on proactive problem solving.
It's a complete shift from being reactive to being preventative. Telecommunications firms, for example, are using AI to predict network outages due to weather or stress load.
So they can notify customers in advance and often
Yeah.
fix the issue remotely before the customer is even aware there was a problem.
Exactly. And similarly, banks are using AI to predict customer churn risk. They can identify customers who are likely to leave within the next 90 days.
Which lets the relationship managers intervene with tailored retention offers.
It minimizes downtime and dramatically boosts customer lifetime value. It's a huge competitive advantage.
And this AI is rapidly moving beyond just operational efficiency and into high-level strategic guidance. The sources suggest that by 2026, AI will be an embedded advisor in the boardroom.
It's becoming absolutely essential for agility. Senior executives will rely on AI-driven analytics and complex simulations to stress test every single major strategic decision they make.
So if a company is considering, say, launching a product in 3 new markets under various inflation rates and supply chain pressures,
The AI models can instantly run thousands of different scenarios to predict the most likely outcomes.
it sounds like it's designed to reduce the risk of making a blind bet.
That's a great way to think about it. This dependence on AI-driven simulation reduces risk significantly and leads to more data-grounded, agile strategic planning. Boards will soon expect AI-generated dashboards and impact forecasts as part of every decision review, just like they expect financial reports today.
And that same analytical rigor is also accelerating innovation cycles dramatically.
It shrinks time to market from months to weeks. Generative AI can instantly propose hundreds of novel design variations for a product.
And digital twin simulations can test them.
Yes, these virtual, highly accurate models of physical processes can test those designs in hours. It compresses the time from the initial idea to product optimization, driving continuous rapid innovation that AI laggards simply cannot match.
This all seems to be culminating in the concept of hyperautomation.
By 2026, the mandate to automate end-to-end business processes using AI alongside robotics, it really hits a major tipping point. We are talking about automating workflows that were previously seen as way too complex for machines.
Can you give us a concrete example of hyperautomation in a complex industry?
Let's look at insurance claims processing. Hyperautomation takes over the entire chain. An AI vision system receives images of a damaged car,
And it instantly assesses the damage severity.
estimates the cost using dynamic parts and labor data, and then automatically generates the necessary regulatory documents and initiates the payment process, all with minimal human intervention.
So, if the machine is handling that entire complex workflow, what happens to the human employees?
The human workforce is forced to shift their roles entirely. They move from being process operators, the person manually inputting data or checking forms, to becoming process supervisors and innovators.
So their new role is monitoring the AI for errors,
Yeah.
improving the automation logic.
And focusing on the exceptions and the edge cases. This requires a massive upskilling mandate for the company. It makes problem-solving and critical systems thinking the core skills of the new workforce.
Now, while AI is driving all this efficiency and innovation, it's also creating a massive divergence in the corporate world, a performance gap.
And it's raising some very serious questions about trust.
The sources are predicting a stark performance divide by 2026.
They are. The AI leaders, the companies who adopted the technology early, will aggressively capture market share through superior customer experiences and faster innovation cycles. AI maturity is becoming a core predictor of business success.
Meanwhile, the AI laggards are going to find themselves stuck with high operational costs, slow innovation, and outdated generic offerings.
It's widening the gulf between the winners and the losers.
And the greatest systemic threat to all of this transformation is the acceleration of synthetic media, or deepfakes.
Which risks eroding trust across every single business function, both external and internal.
The generative tools, the GANs and diffusion models, have become so sophisticated that synthetic content is often completely indistinguishable from reality.
And this is causing significant erosion of trust. In customer experience, or CX, attackers are using synthetic media to impersonate company representatives or create completely fake video reviews and testimonials.
Which rapidly corrodes customer confidence in all online channels.
And the risk extends to employee experience, or EX, as well. It's a huge internal security threat.
Oh.
The acceleration of AI-generated video and voice calls that impersonate senior executives is leading to some very sophisticated social engineering attacks. Employees are being tricked into transferring large amounts of funds or disclosing confidential credentials.
It corrodes workplace integrity and psychological safety. Employees can no longer trust the voice or the face of their own leadership.
Exactly. Therefore, the strategic response from companies must be centered on governance and transparency.
Organizations have to treat AI governance with the same rigor they treat financial auditing.
They do. This means implementing strict AI ethics guidelines, continuous bias testing protocols, and transparency reports. The sources confirm that new roles, like the AI ethics officer, will become commonplace.
And companies will be required to clearly label their AI-driven interactions.
Right, explicitly stating you are chatting with an AI assistant. The future of business success depends entirely on earning and maintaining trust in what is becoming a highly synthetic world.
We have certainly mapped a complex landscape today. We've traced this profound interconnectedness of technology and psychology.
We started with the digital exhaustion of Gen Z, and we mapped out those psychological pressure points, the social comparison, the identity dissonance, and the cognitive overload that all lead to burnout.
And we connected that psychological strain directly to the technological mandate. We saw how the 2025 algorithm shift demands constant optimized performance from everyone.
And how the AI effects epidemic is transforming social feeds into these immersive, augmented realities that are rapidly becoming the engine of global commerce. The internal psychological pressure is now perfectly aligned with the external algorithmic pressure.
But, and I think this is really important, we also saw that Gen Alpha, the immersive natives, and even Gen Z are actively developing some powerful coping strategies against this hyper-curation.
That's right. The coping strategies involve digital withdrawal, selective content consumption, and these cultural shifts toward low-polish authenticity.
The rise of private channels like Finstas, the success of low-polish apps like Berrywell.
And the cultural acceptance of the photo dump on Instagram. These are all genuine cultural antidotes to the exhausting pressure of idealized self-presentation. They are actively seeking out safer, more authentic digital environments.
It feels like we are witnessing a battle for the boundary between the real and the augmented self.
And that boundary is about to get even fuzzier. Our sources predict the ultimate future is defined by contextual AI, these highly sophisticated systems that run locally, that anticipate your needs, and interpret your environment.
And potentially even read your emotional state in real time.
Which brings us to our final thought.
So here is the final provocative thought for you to mull over. If, by 2026, our digital reality moves from our phones into always-on wearable glasses, and this contextual AI is fully embedded in our perception, constantly reading our intent in our environment, what does digital burnout look like then?
What does it look like when the pressure to perform, to optimize, and to consume is no longer mediated by a screen in your hand, but is seamlessly integrated into your entire field of vision?
That level of integration fundamentally redefines selfhood, attention, and sanity. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.
We'll catch you next time.